What's going on, running fans, jumping fans, throwing fans, all around athletics fans? Welcome to Talking in Ovals. I'm Alex Cuesta. With me, as always, my partner in crime over there, Dave Hyatt. What's going on, Hyatt?
Not much, man. I have three names that I have to bring up after this weekend. First, I got to bring up Kelvin Kiptum winning the London Marathon, 2 hours and 1 minute.
Second fastest time
ever.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Next name is, and this is unbelievable, Safan Hassan, her first ever marathon, 2 hours and 18 minutes. She falls way back, comes back, storms up win. To me, she has to be the most diverse female distance runner ever. I mean, she runs a 156 and 800 up to a 218 marathon. I mean, that range is just absolutely unheard of. It's ridiculous. It's insanity.
And she was back at 25K. I believe she was almost a minute back.
Yeah.
She crawled back at like 41K, took the lead, which is insane.
And I think the most impressive thing of the whole weekend was, what's his name? Isam Asinga, a high school kid, runs 9.83 in the 100 meters, beats Noah Lyles.
Yep.
I mean, you know, I don't think that Noah Lyles is anywhere near his prime yet, but for a high school kid to run 9.83 in the 100 meters, it's just, what is going on now in track and field is absolutely just crazy.
It's ridiculous and completely and totally non-track and field related. The New York Football Jets got Aaron Rodgers. Everyone can kick rocks.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. But yeah, no, we won't talk about that. We're a track show. But again, everyone, today's Monday, April 24th of 2023. I thank everyone for jumping in. Before we get into all the fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes, and spread this word of mouth. That's the most important way that we grow. Anyone that's relatively a running fan, they don't have to be a trackie. They don't have to have run cross country, ran in college, anything like that. Even if they're just casual runners, be like, hey, cool show. They talk about the stories of people running. They're not X's and O's very much. You know, we do get into that sometimes, but just say, hey, listen, go listen to that Julie Cully podcast. She was a 5K national champion. Go listen. They've had Johnny Gray on. Did you know that one of the fastest 800-meter runners in the history of man didn't start running until junior year? Those fun facts you get here. You don't get many other places. So definitely go tell everyone. And also go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. So a few PRs before we get into all of our show from my alma mater, Marist, over at the Ryder Invitational. We've had the women's triple jump record go down. That is a 22-year-old record. She finished 7th place. Kiana Patharana. I probably butchered your name. I'm sorry, Kiana. 11.08 meters. That is 36 feet, 4.25 inches. So really good job. And she decimated the old record. The old record was 10.87 meters. So she absolutely destroyed the old record. And then over in the 5K for the men, Daniel Chop is the 33 man to break 15 for Marist College, the 33rd man. He ran a 14:58. So I'm excited for him. Congrats to him for joining that club. And so PRs, I don't think we have anything else, Dave. I think those are all provided to us.
Absolutely.
All right. And before we get into this week's show, go listen to last week's show. We had Eric Sawinski on. It was an educational show. It was a fun show. He kind of set us straight on some things and, with like some pro runners insight on how Worlds is decided and things like that, and gave us a lot of good inside baseball. He is the best pacer in the world right now. Responsible for pacing so many world records just over the last few years. So,
and he was back at it this past weekend. He was out there pacing again.
Yeah, he was. He's just a machine, and he's still an incredible runner. Ran 145 last year, so it's not like Eric Sawinski's washed up in any which way. So listen to last week's show. Go follow Eric. But this week we have a fun show. We have an important show coming on. It's one that's big for you, Dave.
Absolutely.
It's someone that we just keep on rolling in with your people. And that is, honestly, this show does not exist. The people just need to understand. I do a lot of the talking. I do a lot of kind of the moving the show along a little bit because I've been doing podcasts for almost 7 years. I've hosted for a long time. But without Dave getting like his whole entire friend group, which is absolutely expansive between South and Rutgers, we don't have a podcast. And He's described this person as someone who's unequivocally been his best friend for a really long time. He's Jason Klophaus. He was a member of Toms River South track and field in the late 90s, mid 90s, I want to say. Over with Dave. And was an exquisite runner for them. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, how are you, Alex?
Doing good, doing good. I haven't used exquisite in a long time. That one just kind of came in my head. That's a great word. Kids out there, SAT prep, exquisite, use it. Great word. But yeah, Jason, I'm pumped to have you on. I feel like I'm not supposed to call you by your first name. Dave's only called you Klophaus to me. So, but we're going to get into our first segment right away. What we do every single week. I want you to start off and talk to me about your start of your running journey. What was the spark that got you to realize that maybe this could be a sport that I want to do for a long time?
Well, that's a good question. I guess is kind of a funny way it came about. I grew up in Pennsylvania, and if you grow up in Pennsylvania, there's a good chance you wrestle. And so I started wrestling in middle school, and then got a little bit more serious about it in high school. And I know you can't see me in my totality here, but I'm definitely not a wrestler's build. And while I put my heart into it, I don't know that I ever really would have been a great wrestler. And I did find that, a lot of it is conditioning, and I'd go out for the runs and enjoy the runs and find the runs much easier. And then I kind of was like, hey, this is a sport. Why am I not doing this? It makes a lot more sense for me. So, and then, so there's a real small, I guess, I would say not very serious cross country team. I don't even know if there was a track team at Fleetwood High School, and moved my junior year to Toms River South, and then sort of my mind was blown when I showed up there. So.
And that kind of brought you to want to do it, and just seeing, because Dave talks about the team, the camaraderie and things that's out there. And Dave also talks about how before you got there, he was the top dog. Dave, take it away.
I was not the top dog when he got there, because that was our junior year where we had Chris Greer, who was a multiple time meet of champs winner, Steve Geiger, who went on to ran for Rutgers. One of my late friends, Josh Bygott, who was meet of champs winner in the pole vault. And then, but I remember Jay came probably maybe February or March of our junior year. He and I both graduated in 96. And Mr. O'Leary told us, we had this kid who transferred in from Pennsylvania. I don't know much about him. He doesn't really have, many times, because as he said, his school was really small and no one took it seriously. So he came out for spring track, went on a couple runs with us. And, our goal was to kind of see where he was and kind of let him know that, you're not running in a little town in PA anymore.
You always test the new kid, especially the new kid that has run before. It's like, okay.
So it's funny, and I'll let Klophaus tell a story, but he can tell you about his first run. He was running with our friend Jason Anklowitz, who was just coming off of mono. So Jay, why don't you kind of tell us how that run?
Yeah.
Was?
So Jay is a guy that I feel like he's a principal now, or at least was until he went off and started a business of his own. And he even in high school had sort of this presence about him of being kind of an intimidating guy. And he was very serious about school, had just gotten mono, and was kind of like, screw that. I'm not going to let the mono affect any of my life. I've got a plan and I'm sticking with it. And so he probably should not have even been running. I show up at South and I'm looking around, and there's Dave and Chris and Steve and Jay, and I'm just hearing these stories about how they're rolling over other teams. And Jay's like, hey, let's go out for a little run. And I think we might have run 4 or 5 miles total. And I just remember going out and like just trying to keep a straight face, but dying. And we got out about 2 or 2.5 miles, and Jay was like, you can kind of keep going if you want. And I'm sure he was like maybe pushing me a little bit, but I was just dying inside and barely made it back to the high school and just went home and slept. So that was kind of my.
See, what's also funny is that when he first got there, he thought these kids, they're from this urban area. Like, I'm going to beat all these kids. Like, they had no idea. And then he came back. He's like, holy shit! Like, we got a kid here who's running a 152 and Chris Greer, Steve Geiger, and it was so funny seeing his reaction. But I mean, he fit in right away because he's goofy as hell, just like us. And I remember his, every race that he ran that junior year, he just kept getting better and better and better, and it was just so fun to watch. And then I remember going into the Ocean County Championships, the one that I gave Scott Clayton great props for going to his prom and letting us win by 2 points. So before every meet, Mr. O'Leary would have us like on a team meeting, go over for like an hour on a big chalkboard, every event, who's going to do what. So he said, all right, we're going to get 10 points, 1,600 meters. Chris Greer is going to win. And that's it. I'm like, he would always make you get pissed off so that you would want to try more. So Chris couldn't run for whatever. He got hurt. So we needed those 10 points. So I got third and Jay got fourth, and that's 6 points and 4 points, and that's 10 points. And that was kind of the beginning of who this kid is. And then from there on, he can kind of tell you about how that whole summer went building into our senior year, because no one knew who he was. No one had any idea, and it was so awesome.
Yeah, go for it. So Jay, go on that note, give us some fun memories, so maybe some stories that shouldn't be told. Give us some stuff, especially on Dave, so I can use over him for a long time. So yeah, give us some fun walks down memories lane here.
We should save specific Dave stories for another time, Alex. But
a different podcast. It's a little more.
Yeah.
We could put an explicit tag. That's okay. We'll put the explicit tag on this one.
I guess I'll say, like moving there, I was like, again, I just can't sort of express how intimidating it was when, like I'd never known anyone that had broken 5 minutes in the mile. And you show up to South and it's like, I think pretty much everyone was going under 5 minutes in the mile. You had Chris Greer, who is, at Melrose. And then, Dave was like ripping and has crazy speed, and same with Steve Geiger, obviously, and Jay. And it was just like, a stacked team in my mind, and we came off, I think we came off a really good spring track season.
County champs. Thank you, Scott Clayton.
And, going into summer, it like I basically went from the situation of not having any friends to just growing incredibly close to all of these guys, and I'm, proof is I'm still talking to Dave regularly, and
I'm sorry,
and Pete and Jay, and I'm not talking to people from back in Fleetwood, sadly, but the summer, I guess I remember we were like all just stoked to run fast, and definitely like just constantly sort of ratcheting up the intensity. And it's, like we'd get our miles in at the beginning of summer. And then I think by midsummer we'd have these like weekly meetings, where we'd do like a 10-mile loop, and like Dave and I would just totally hammer,
probably to our detriment looking back. Like every day was fast, hard, like I kind of like now how like everyone's kind of training now where they're saying like go easy on days, but, like, so we would practice every Tuesday. We would meet at the yacht club, and Mr. O'Leary had all these different loops, and we would just go like I remember one run. It was probably the only time that I ever beat Jay in anything was we went 12-mile run, and I just blasted him, and it was like the best feeling in the world because we all knew going into that season that Jay was really something special that no one knew about. And it was really, really cool just to kind of see him start to get that belief in himself because he's very humble, very, very quiet. Whereas like a lot of like I was more brash and like more like, I guess kind of a dick, you know. But but it was just cool. Like
I think you're being humble now, Dave. But dude, you were a force to reckon with. I'll say that, man.
On and off the track.
So I have a question for you, Jay. When you come there, was it kind of bizarre to see another sport? Because you were obviously used to wrestling, right? Fleetwood, everything was wrestling. That was like the big thing. Was it kind of bizarre to come to a school like South? And I know something about the Tom Servers. They're pretty serious about all their sports. They have a belief that each one of their teams can compete at a high level. And that's, whether it's South, East, North, they all believe that all their teams belong, to be at the county champ level, at that level. Was it kind of weird stepping in and going, wait, there isn't one main sport? Like there's kind of like each sport kind of takes their own thing real serious. And especially at the time, South track was the big thing. XC and track, like you guys were kicking ass then. And, the only team that kind of stand in your way for a little bit was Manchester. Thanks, everybody. But but really, not
Manchester
then. A few years later.
Was after
a few years later, yeah.
But we're not very good, especially in cross country then.
But overall, like, was it kind of a culture shock to see like it wasn't just one sport that was the focus? Like every single sport took it real seriously?
I mean, I would say that was a culture shock. Like everything was a culture shock, honestly. Like it went from a graduating class of 100 to probably 1,000, and I mean, it was much more of like, I don't know, it felt like a city compared to where I was. And everyone was just so good in comparison. Like, I mean, it was just, there was real training happening, I guess. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's different. So, I always like to joke around and say, like, XC especially, you talked about how you, like, made, like, lifelong friends. And, like, when I ran cross country, like, I created those bonds. Some of my best friends came from that. But it also is very culty. Like, it really, like, out of so many other sports, I feel like swimming and cross country are the two most, like, culty sports. And maybe lacrosse goes. But it's, like, you kind of get that. But it is a good thing in a way because, like, you all suffer do so freaking much in order to do the training, like you and Dave hammering all the time and things like that. And it's just so common and I've said this before, running is a different sport where it doesn't matter if you got first or last. If you gave 100%, you guys felt the same exact pain. And I think that that's where the respect level comes from everyone. So like, how did you kind of fall in love with the training and the team first, or did you fall in love with getting success?
I'd say for sure the team. Like I'm sure Dave has told you about our coaches.
We've gotten some insight.
Like, I don't think you could match that experience. We had a retirement reunion sort of party, and I don't know, like had to have been at least 300 people showing up, which I just can't imagine that happening really for anyone else. But yeah, when I showed up and kind of like new school, meet these, meet this great group of guys, and then, get in the locker room and it's just like story after story that like you just wanted to live up to sort of that benchmark that was set. And we're kind of in awe and just, I don't know, it was magical time for sure. So
I remember our first XC race senior year. We ran up at Elizabeth at Warnaco Park. It was either the Stewart Memorial. No, it was the class meet. So we ran up. So it was all seniors in our race. gun goes off. It's Wilfredo Rivera running for Old Bridge in there, who we've had on our guest, one of my other really good friends, one other person, and then Klophaus are the top three. And I remember talking to Will in college. He's like, who the hell was this kid from? He's like, I knew who you were. We're like, who the hell is this kid from South with these spandex shorts on under his short shorts, freaking running in training shoes, and I can't shake him. And it was funny because Jay actually ended up third, but like at that point on, we're like, oh man, like this state has no idea what they're getting into with this kid. And then he kind of carried us, I think it was second county meet, to Sean McCafferty. But that whole season, like he was our missing piece that helped us go on to win our third straight state sectional. If Jay hadn't transferred there, then we would have been probably one runner short. Not only was he a huge piece, he was the lead piece of that whole team. He led us in every race. And it was funny because, like, my mom mentioned on the podcast, like that was supposed to be my senior year. I was the happiest person there because the team was better, But it was amazing having him there and just kind of leading us through every race and just giving us something to push for every day as a team. It was incredible.
So yeah, Klophaus, talk about your senior year. Talk about kind of, junior year, you obviously came in, you were kind of getting your bearings, right? But then you figured by the end of that season, like, hey, I'm a pretty good runner. Like I can run with these guys. Now, you talked about that summer training. Talk about how senior year goes, because like Dave said, you obviously you became the lead guy. And what was that like kind of coming in still semi-fresh? You came in midway through junior year, right? And now all of a sudden, Dave and your fellow teammates are kind of looking for you to lead the way to get you guys to the promised land. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a trip, showing up and doing the training. Like, I think we just sort of did as we were told, and with a lot of motivation. And
what a concept! If you guys, if athletes do as they're told, they might have success. I mean, is that foreign now? What a concept!
And wanting to actually do it, we look forward to practice every day. It was the best part of it.
It was the highlight of every day for me. Yeah, was getting out there, and I just sort of imagine like sled dogs, where we weren't happy unless we were doing something to make ourselves faster. And I mean, I'd say not only was it like listening to what we were told for coaching, but like, I mean, like to the letter, we were listening, like, what do we do next? What do we do to get faster? And, I mean, I guess as far as performance goes, I don't know that we really had anything to measure ourselves by over the summer, but we just knew we were in good shape. And like, I don't even think I necessarily had the understanding of like, you have to focus on not getting injured or staying healthy or whatever. But I think our group was generally pretty good. Maybe Pete Davis had some shin splints or something like that. But, and then starting cross country, I was honestly just shocked. Like when I was finishing well, I mean, Dave kind of described it well. Like I was a goofy guy wearing spandex shorts and trainers. And like,
so I have a quick question when it comes to XC real quick. Dave, were you kind of a catalyst to telling Jay, like, no, run up front, go out the lead, run fast, like, don't be afraid. Like, cause one of the things, like, it is a scary thing to be like, okay, now I have to go and take the lead in a race, and you want me to what? Like, I think, were you kind of the encouraging factor there, telling Jay, like, no, go win this race?
I think, we definitely had different roles. He was Jay might have seen it differently, but he was definitely the best runner, but he was really quiet. So I think my role was more to get everyone on the same page and, to get everyone motivated. I was more the leader in that capacity.
The vocal leader.
Whereas Jay was just like a quiet assassin who just, went out there and was just, leading us in the actual races. But I felt like my job was to, run fast, but to kind of lead everyone and keep us close, because we hung out every day after practice on the weekends. Like there wasn't a day where at least one or two of us wasn't hanging out together. Like we were super, super, super close. So I mean, I don't know, Jay, do you feel that was kind of more my role in a sense?
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say Dave was the sort of the lead of the squad. And he gave me a ton of advice throughout the season. And it, there were times it was like like first time I ran on a bank track, what the heck is this, Dave? Like that sort of thing.
Your best quality, I think, was that you didn't know anything. So like you didn't have any expectations. Anything. Like he didn't know any other runner. So like he just ran. Like I feel good. I'm going to run fast. So I think there's something to that says like sometimes the less that you actually know, the better it can be, because you don't get nervous, you don't get anxious. You just kind of, all right, I feel good. I'm going to keep running with these guys. So I think that was his best thing. Even when he got better, he didn't know shit.
Did that make you want to become a coach more, Dave? Was it like, I'm molding this guy to be really fast, maybe I could do this as well?
I think from the moment I met Mr. O'Leary, I wanted to be a coach. He was just like one of the most inspiring men that I've ever met in my entire life. And I mean, he was the actual leader, but like like my job was to pull people aside. Like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And then, Jay just led us, and then, so like, Jay, we finished cross country. You have a very good year. We all kind of teetered out towards the end. And then we have winter track, which was awesome at that point. And I want you to tell the story about your first win in winter track when we ran at Seton Hall. It was a 3,000 meter. Kind of explain the shenanigans that happened to you in that race, just proving how little he actually knew.
RIP Seton Hall track, by the way. Long time ago, but still terrible. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, if I remember right, it was like it might have been like 160 meter.
No, it was a full 200.
Was it a full 200?
But it was a 3,000, not a 32.
Okay. Yeah, and so indoor track. It's the first I'd ever run on an indoor track. It got a little confusing for me, I guess.
It certainly can.
Most of the race, but I remember coming into to final lap, hearing the bell, and kicking, and then coming over the the finish line, and then hearing the bell again and kicking again. And then awesome. And then coming around again and hearing the bell again and kicking. And
oh no.
So I want to say Pete Schultz and Scott Conroy pulled me off the track.
Yeah, we literally had to go on the track and pull him off. Like, Jay, you won 2 laps ago. Like stop running the race. You won the race 2 laps ago. Like, what are you doing? But that's who Jay was. Like, he just had no idea about anything, And then I think one of my favorite races that season was West Point, because our goal every year at South was to qualify for the 4x8 to run at Penn Relays. And our goal was to always do it in the indoor season and not leave it for a chance in the early out of season. So, at that point, mid-90s, there really weren't any bank tracks, there really weren't that many fast tracks, No. As I've said before, we didn't run counties, or we didn't run at Red Bank because, we got in a fight with high school. So we're running at West Point, and the magic time is 8:15, and the 4 of us, we just got together. We ran like 8:13, and it was just like, knowing that we got that every year, that made Mr. O'Leary so happy, was that we would qualify for a Penn. And we have a video of that tape from our buddy Jason Ankowitz, and he's up top, and I ran third leg, and I brought it from like third to like first, handed off to a Jay, and Jay's like, Klophaus, you're killing us. The races, you're killing us, because he went out in 30. And then he came back in 60. And then he ran 130. And then he ran 30 and 2 flats. And he went 30, 30, 30, 30.
Wow.
which is what he was. He was just a machine. And like our buddy, he's screaming at him, "You're going out too slow," because everyone's going out like 58, 57. They're catching him, and like, kept going. Just like little memories like that, or just like I don't know, I things that I'll never forget for my whole life. But Jay's big breakout was spring track, and I'll let him kind of talk about that, where he just kind of took over Ocean County and then just led on all the way to the state. So Jay, why don't you bring us through spring track your senior year? That's when people kind of realized that this kid's freaking for real.
Yeah. I'll try and remember the best I can.
I got your back.
Yeah, Dave's an encyclopedia with this stuff. Like, he remembers it all.
It's freakish. Yeah. It's crazy. Like he was built to be a coach,
Probably was. Very good one as well.
It's crazy. Yeah, I guess spring season, I honestly don't remember a lot. I think I won counties.
You won counties in both.
Okay. In the mile and the 2.
929 and 424.
The short conference I remember really well.
Best race that I ever saw.
That was like, I don't know, it could have been the race of my life.
Let's hear about it.
Well, so, I mean, I guess I was catching on to racing, and I think at that point I had a pretty good handle on like, I don't know, race strategy. Something I this is there was John Clark, who was a very talented runner that was going to be in the race, along with a few other guys that I don't remember, but I remember John, and he was like a, I don't know, 156, 157 half guy. And I know he'd run a fast mile already. I don't remember.
Sub 420. And I think your best was 424 at that point.
Yeah. And so like, this will make a lot more sense when I tell you, Alex, that I'm probably the slowest sprinter you've ever met in your life. Like, not exaggerating. We do 200 track workouts and I'd be like second to last, running as fast as I possibly could.
58, 400 was like your all out possible. Yeah, maybe 59.
Literally. Yeah. I hit 57 once in college, so that makes the 2-minute half make more sense the way I ran it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, so I talked to our Coach O'Leary, about strategy for the race. And he was like, you're going to have to take this guy out hard, and just push him the whole time because he's fast, And I went, all right. And then I'm like, how fast? And he's like, pretty fast, like 62 or so. So, and I'm going, okay. So, I mean, this is like, I'd just been sort of thinking about this race and thinking about it. And I'm, like Dave said, kind of obsessed with just running fast.
Yeah.
We all were. And so I guess I maybe didn't really understand visualization at the time, but I'd say I visualized this whole race, and so went out, got a good start, went through in 62 or 63 or something.
63.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were booking for you.
Yeah. And then, maybe came through in I don't know, 209 or something like that.
Yep. 63, 65. It was 209.
And then, I did to the extent I could. I almost started kicking at the half mile, but I was just trying to reassert and essentially run away from this guy because I knew he'd outkick me.
Yeah.
And so I think I ran another 63 or 64.
Another 63.
Yeah. And then at the last quarter, I think, I don't know, maybe with 300 to go, he passed me, something like that. What was ahead of me in the turn, maybe?
Yeah, at 200 meter, he was ahead of you. Yeah, with 200 to go. He had passed you maybe with like 250 to go on the back. 200, he pulls ahead, and we're all thinking, well, he's not going to outkick this kid.
He went too soon, though. He went too soon.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I just remember getting tripped out with like 100 to go, and it like certainly was not intentional. We were just like both hypoxic, and and like he was ahead of me, and I might have beat him by like a step or something, but
yeah.
I mean, it was like I was just sore forever. I just remember I was wrecked for like days after that race, and it, like just unbelievable level of happiness. I mean, I'll be the first to say there's like no way I should have beat that guy. Like I bet if you ran that race 9 more times, you would have beat me. But like just kind of ran a really good strategic race, and it came together, and yeah, I don't know.
63, 65, 63, 65.
I mean, that's ridiculous, those splits. And, you ran fast. Like, that is a fast freaking race. So it's like
418.
That's a very fast high school race. Now, as of now, that would like get you 9th in counties, but like
in the JV race,
the freshman race, it would get you 9th in the freshman race. But it's like that like is, I feel like that's similar to when I won the short conference in the 8. I had no business winning that race, and ours was much slower. Like you ran an impressive time. I think we won in like a 158 high. It wasn't anything special. But it was a similar fashion where there were guys there that were definitely better than me, and they just went too soon. It's all it was. They went at the 300, and in my head, I was like, thank you. That's all I thought, thank you, because I'm a 200-meter kicker. I'll just hang on you and go. And it worked out. It all worked out, but it's like that's a similar way. But, man, a 418 for a guy who can't sprint faster than 58 to run a 63, 65.
It was probably 59 in high school.
I mean, that's incredible. That's actually, but it's a testament to just show, because track's different, right? Talent doesn't always win. Sometimes pure balls wins, pure grit.
And he had that.
And I mean, that's incredible. So you went on to run in college. You ran at Penn State, right?
I just got one more thing that
go ahead,
I want to mention. All right.
Yeah.
So to end his last year, really his first whole year of running for the whole year, we get to meet a champs. The South School record had stood for 25, 30 years. It was like 9:27, right? So we're at the meet of champs. I think Jay was like the 6th seed because he didn't run as fast in the groups. I think he was even like 2nd or 3rd in groups.
I like bombed in groups. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like he qualified, but he certainly wasn't one of the favorites. And he goes out, and Adam Daniels runs 9:22, and then in 2nd place is Jason Klophaus at a 9:25 flat, breaks the school record in his first year ever running. And and at that point it's June, so everybody has already committed to where they're going to college. So here's Jay, 2nd place in the champs, and he goes to Penn State and doesn't get a dime.
Well, now I wouldn't even made me the champs, right? From what I'm hearing. So,
well, let's just
it's the luck of the draw.
Well, Jay, hold on. I'll tell you something quick. There was a race in Arcadia, California, like 10 days ago, right? Maybe
2 weeks, something like that. Yeah.
2 weeks. There were, if you ran 9 flat in this race, you were 76th place.
Oh my God.
There were 3 kids under 840.
All high school. All high school kids. This wasn't anything. These were all high school kids. Yeah. It's again though, but we brought it up. We talked about this a lot. The training methods are different, and we never brought up, Dave, the athletic training methods are different, right? Athletic trainers know a lot more now. They know a lot more about stretching. They're much more engaged in like the pre-race massages and things like that. I remember like getting into ice baths is much more encouraged, I believe now. Even when I was there,
I took ice baths all the time.
You were looked at as a weirdo at times in high school, right? It wasn't college. It was necessity. You went to college, you took ice baths. This was what you did. But in high school, there weren't that many and the tubs were there, but it was like, I was one of the rare people that would be like, make sure my ice bath is ready. Like it didn't really happen.
Well, I mean, plus like, especially during cross country season, like if we were training room and our trainer, Debbie Moranti, was awesome. But if we were training room and it could have been a freshman football player or a JV football player, like, all right, cross country guys out of the tub, like no one cared about us, like it was hard because we only had one trainer. She was great. And when she had time, she was there, but she was told that her priority is football or baseball, especially at times they were south with baseball, so like we were never, so like things would get worse and worse and worse because we weren't afforded the opportunity to get all those things.
Yeah, we had Kathy. Yeah, Kathy was amazing.
Kathy was great.
She was equal for everyone. She didn't honestly, Kathy did not favor a single sport. She was one of the best athletic trainers in the whole state, without a doubt, for her whole entire tenure at Manchester. And we were fortunate that when we came to Kathy, the place could be stacked and she would still stop. She would tell you, but she would give you individual care. And I was in there enough wrapping my ankle every freaking day because I had bad ankles that there were times where Kathy would be like, Alex, wrap that ankle, because she would be so stacked. She'd be like, help them. You wrap your own and then help them. I knew how to do my own ankle.
She was still there when I was coaching at Manchester. She was fantastic.
Yeah, she had her own little golf cart and everything. We whatchamacall, we balled it out. We gave her some like chrome rims on her golf cart. It was amazing. But
Jay, you get to Penn State.
Yes.
Yeah.
How was that? How much of a different shock was that than from going from Pennsylvania to South? Like now you're in college. You're running in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You're probably not considered one of the guys because you're not on scholarship. So like, how did that whole thing play out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was eye opening again. It was like I had a real old school coach, Harry Groves. He passed away not too long ago, but he was definitely like a cornerstone of the running community at Penn State, and he was a real old school guy. Like, I mean, mileage is everything. And came in and I remember this idea of like, we were going to time trial quickly and hopping in and just like everyone's running, at slowest high 420s for the mile.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like hey, did he actually train over the summer, whatever sort of thing. And I remember all the young guys throwing elbows because we thought we could get cut. It was like very much an idea that like you wouldn't be around, and then one of the older guys was like, hey, chill out. You're actually just like fine. I'm like, okay. But, and then I think the first weekend we went up and did a mountain run that was like 15 or 16 miles. And yeah, I mean, I can't say I even remember the pace, but I just remember most of my freshman year just coming home, trying to maintain enough energy just to eat food and then falling asleep immediately. And it like, I mean, I know you guys say training methods are different, and I'm sure they are. It's too bad we would all have been like sub 9 minute 2 milers back in the day with some stretching or something, but too bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, but like so like Jay and I we would still talk a lot then, on the phone because I was at Stroudsburg and he was beating kids who were on scholarship. He was running really, really well, and I remember going to the Penn relays. Mr. O'Leary took the team up Thursday night, one night earlier than usual. Just so, because Klophaus was running in the 5K at Penn. So, like, all of us old South guys, we were all there to watch him run. Like, his old coach, and I don't know, he ended up running like 14:30 or something. Like, he was just. Yeah. But, like, you, to me, you never felt like you were comfortable there. Like, it's almost like you felt like you were a little disrespected because you were beating guys who were on scholarship and you were like top guy in cross country. You were qualifying for regionals and so what led to you to decide to call it quits after sophomore year?
I don't know. Honestly, I think probably the biggest thing was for me, the coaching and team environment did not feel like everything I loved in high school was. I developed a lot of close friendships there, but it was, I don't know, it just didn't feel the same, I guess, and, I would say that like I'm good at running, but I don't know that I'm someone that just loves running. I think I love that time in my life, but I don't like go, I got to go back and run in that same way. And for me, like the friendships in high school were so tight, and like the coaching was so great. And I just, I think for some people it works and others it doesn't when you're with different coaches. And I think Harry Groves probably thought I was like a screw off, and to some extent I was, like, I kind of had this look of like, I was smoking weed all the time and I wasn't, and like I was drinking all the time and I wasn't, and I was extremely serious about running, but it'd be easy to miss that, I think, and I think we, like for whatever reasons, we just didn't see that eye to eye. And I also got like really excited about climbing, rock climbing. And I was trying to do that all the time and run, and not doing a very good job in school. And like, I guess my interests just sort of like migrated. So,
college running is difficult, right? And any college sport is difficult because it really becomes a job, and you're getting to a level where, like you said, you got on there and everyone was like, all right, 420 high mile, that's the minimum. And it's like, then you realize you step in there and you went to a place like Penn State, which is a Power 5 school. And everyone on there was a county champ, a conference champ, a state competitor who wasn't a state champ, and, who didn't have a school record and this and that. So you're quite literally every single time you're practicing, it's essentially like getting on that meet a champ sign and practicing with all those individuals every single time. And it does get difficult, and it is demanding. It's a job, and it's not for everyone. And, I could see people falling out of love with the sport in that point, because like you said, one of your first runs, it was like, all right, go run up a mountain for 15 miles. And you're probably doing it at like a low 7 pace, high 6 pace. So it's not like it's an easy thing. And then, there's always the last mile hammer. It's a college thing. Everyone hammers the last mile. It's just what happens. So like, you're now sitting there and you're dropping like a 5:30 or low 5 minute. And you're just like, what is life? Like this kind. So it's, it definitely is something that isn't for, everyone. And again, you get a different passion. You're over there in the mountains in Penn State.
And you grow as a person,
Yeah.
You're changing, if like we were so close in high school that I had a hard time in college too, because like I was trying to get that same feeling that I had in high school and that passion and that love, and it just wasn't there. And it's like, like I ran just as much for my teammates in high school than I did for myself. And it wasn't a job. It was like, it was life. It was everything that I loved and cherished. And I know Jay felt that same way. And it was just, it's just different.
Yeah. It had a little bit more of a feel of like you're an independent contractor or something. And so like, it probably like you're training with these other people, but you're like, you got to make sure you beat them or you're not traveling,
Yeah.
And so you kind of have your little like groups of people that you hang with, but I don't know. It didn't, for me, it was just a little different. And I think the other thing too is there's kind of like, you're running and I've noticed this with everybody that's competitive. Like you run a time and you can be happy for a day or two, and then you immediately go like, yeah, but that's not fast enough. That's not good enough. And there's sort of this like diminishing return from an insane amount of effort, right? And like you kind of at some point have to be real with yourself. And I think I was like, hey, I'm a 57-second quarter guy, and I think my best mile is maybe like a 4:12, right? So like, how much further can I squeeze out of this?
Yeah, but you're also like a 14:20, 14:15 guy in the 5K.
Yeah. But at some point you realize like, hey, like I'm not going to go win nationals here. And everyone's like, you got to be thinking that way, where you got to believe you've never left your best out there yet. And you can always improve. And so it's kind of like a weird mental mindset to.
And it's, it's kind of sad to hear that you stopped at sophomore with those types of PRs, right? But, you got to be real to yourself. Like you said, if you weren't willing to put in that amount of work because, there's a difference between putting in the work and going through the motions, right? You could still run fast. You could still do workouts. You could still do hard runs. But especially at the collegiate level, it is a mental game. Because once again, when you're stepping on that line, there's no dual meets, there's no small invites. You're stepping on the line with a bunch of people who are very serious. And again, Penn State, Rutgers, those types of things. Like, I loved going to Marist. Marist is a smaller school, right? The Penn State and Rutgers, you're going up and you're competing against very real, very national, mindset type of athletes. A lot of the guys you're going against, like we did have Iona. Iona is extremely good in distance. Monmouth for a few years kicked our ass up and down, but you guys were going up against that within your conference all the time. And it wasn't even a joke that you had guys you were stepping up on the line that were going to go to nationals. We're going to make finals at nationals. So it is, I can understand just like the mindset, especially running like a 14:20 and then not winning, right? Because the races like have the guys that are running basically damn near 14 flat. Like I could see how that's a little, disheartening, but we've been at this for a while and I freaking love it. I want to get to something that you talked about really quick. I want to kind of blend two topics, because you talked about, the benefits of running that you had that came to you. And I want you to blend that also with a message to young people, young runners. What benefits has running given you as a person, as an athlete, as a lot? And what can you impart on, young runners, young athletes, young people in general? Because I feel like something about running kind of translates beyond the sport.
Yeah. I mean, I think like running, and I can't really say it's just running, but running competitively on a team, like has been one of the best experiences of my life, right? Like we've already kind of talked about, like the friendships you develop. And, I mean, you look at how long that lasts. And, I guess like it goes for anyone, in my mind, that's running distance on a team in particular. It's like, there are so many hours of isolation with just you and people that are like in it for the same reasons as you, that I don't think you can really look at someone and go like, I like do anything but respect them, because how hard the work is.
Yeah.
And it's like when it's snowing, when it's raining, like it's not a fair weather sport. You're freezing at times. Like it's brutal. But I think all those things kind of, just sort of like sum to making you a better version of yourself. And, I guess this, like the idea of training is sort of an interesting one too. That I think people just need to realize they're maybe capable of a lot more than they would think at first glance. And it's like, I'm sure you guys would say this the first time you went out running, like it just hurts like hell. It's really not fun. And I mean, workouts in any sport, I think if it's a workout that's serious, you're about ready to quit when you're halfway through the workout. And the rest of it is kind of gritting it out. And there's just that really cool cumulative effect of doing that over and over and like slowly raising your bar, that I think leads to something that's like, it's hard, but it's worthwhile. And, like sort of creates lifetime memories. And I think that's true with sports, in general, but running, it's so highlighted because it's so relying on preparation. And then there's this like nervousness and coming to terms with performing, and it's just great. So, yeah.
So how much do you feel all of those experiences have helped you later in life as a business owner, as a father, in so many ways, all of these things that you've been through because of the sport of running, particularly distance running, like how much did that really prepare you for the next chapter in your life?
I think it'd be hard to say how much, but I have to think a good amount. I mean, there's, with all these things like having a business or raising kids, it's like, you're trying to grow something, you're trying to do something right. And there's times that it's not enjoyable, but, I think it's, you got to put your head down and do the right thing to do. And, I mean, I think that's like the biggest challenge of running that was taught really early on, right? Like you're sitting there and you're like, I got to get my 10-mile run in today. And it's not really the first thing you want to do. You're sitting there and you're like, if I can just get changed and get my shoes on and get out the first mile, the rest of it takes care of itself. But, it's taking that first action. And, I think that translates, very well to a lot of the rest of life. So
definitely, and there's one thing about running, and I tell everybody, and I think this does fit for life. Like you said, get your shoes on, get outside, take that first step. Once you took that first step, and you can't turn around and see your house anymore, you're in. And you just got to do it. And I think that's a big thing for life, because a lot of things in life is just getting off your ass and going to do it. Like Dave and I, we get off our ass at least once a week, come over here, put on mics, do our thing, and we just do it. And it's something that we just did, and it's something we found great enjoyment in. Like I've been podcasting for a little while now. Dave has joined me. He's, he was a guest on one of my shows, and he's like, I really like this. I would like to do this. And then, Worlds comes along this past year, and he's like, podcast. And I'm like, yep, I have the means. Let's do this. And here we are. And again, it's getting off your ass and doing it. And running is a really good thing because, it's real easy, especially in the summer when it's nice and we live by the Jersey Shore. It is real easy to not get up or to get up and go, I want to go to the beach today instead of my run. And then just go do that instead. And it's like, I'll swim a little and that's the same. And kind of convince yourself to do that. It takes a lot of discipline to run and be a good runner. Anyone can run, but it takes discipline to be a good runner. So I think that is a message, especially for the youth right now that has a lot of instant gratification, that, is everything all about quick things and things like that. Things are a grind. Klophaus is a fast guy. We didn't talk about a lot of his PRs. Dave mentioned them right around there, 4:12, 14:18, 14:20. Like those are no times to scoff at. Jay was a very fast individual, and you can hear he's extremely humble, but you then heard his story. Junior year, he was good, not great, got good his senior year. And in reality, you really ran for like 3 years and change. And you went from being a kind of okay runner to a lead runner at a major school. So it takes time. Everything's a grind. And I think that's kind of a message that we got from this podcast. Just grind. Absolutely grind and work hard.
But it's funny, you guys, like you don't remember the hard days, but you remember the great days, don't you? It's like you don't remember dying halfway out on your 15-mile run.
That's why we're here. We're here to bring back all those awful memories.
I'm a nerd, and I remember every step that I ever took. or that any of my friends ever took. I'm like,
I believe you, Dave.
I remember the long runs being the fun part, though. Like, when you all start out and, over at Manchester Hyatt Nose, we have Sarco and we call lakes and double lakes. And they're like, the lake is, what is a lake? Like 4 or 5 miles, a double lake, maybe adds to 6. And in high school, they're pretty substantial and it was in sand. So it wasn't like fun, but like, I remember just getting out there and, you'd initially get out there, you'd go around the first part of the lake and then something happens and it clicks and now you're hammering. And that's what you kind of remember. You get those like kind of memories of you're all talking, and it's kind of no one says anything. Someone just kind of starts going, the conversation
the pace slightly picks up little by little. And then that last mile and a half, there's no talking. It's just,
the conversation stops and you're just going and then you get there
the street.
And then you get there and coach looks at you and goes, the hell, I told you guys to do a long run. What is wrong with you guys? Like it was supposed to be easy. But yeah, it's a different beast. Track's a different beast. And Jay, the show was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and walking down memory lane with us.
Well, I had a great time. Thanks for having me on. And
Jay, man,
great memories to relive. So
you're definitely a person that I wanted to have on this show. I've known you since the day that you moved to Pine Beach. It's been an honor being your friend, following your running career, running with you. And I'm just beyond proud of the man that you are now. And you still instill so much positivity into my life every day. I have such amazing memories of all of us running, and I just love you, man.
Well, thanks, Dave. That's warms my heart, and I consider you to be like a brother, and I don't know, I miss you, wish I could see more, and thanks for having me on here. It's awesome, and I'm proud of what both you guys are doing with this podcast.
Thank you.
It's great.
Thank you. We love doing it. We love being able to just talk to people and get their running stories, because running is a sport that's the same, but everyone's story is so different. And that could be a tagline, Dave. Running might be the same, but everyone's story is different. There you go.
I like it.
Me making things. It's all because of you, Jay. You inspired me to get that. But once again, we're here talking in ovals. Yeah, he is Jason Klophaus. He's obviously one of Dave's best friends. Great runner from Towns River South, Penn State. And, thank you so much for coming on, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Go give us a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate us 5 stars. Once again, spread this word of mouth. Go find us on the socials at Talking in Ovals. We'll be back next week. Hopefully we'll have some more PRs. We'll go hound some people. We want to talk about people doing fast things and good things. So everyone, thank you so much for listening. So long. See you next week.